Overnight, most places will be dry with lengthy clear spells, and as winds fall light, particularly across parts of Scotland, northern England, temperatures here will drop away close to freezing. Some mist and fog patches developing as well, but for most, temperatures above freezing to start Sunday morning. So we take a look at the details for Sunday morning. A weather front across the far north of Scotland giving further outbreaks of patchy rain here. Temperatures around 6-7 degrees, but plenty of sunshine elsewhere. Some mist and fog patches are possible, but they should burn back to the coast quite quickly, and plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England as well. Just a few fog patches, and dry across the rest of England and Wales. Just perhaps a little bit of rain getting close to the far southwest of England, but again, most likely staying dry here too. A little bit breezy here, but for most through Sunday, winds will be light. There'll be plenty of sunshine. Just further outbreaks of patchy rain affecting the far north of Scotland, and very little change through the rest of the afternoon into the evening time, and temperatures, well, above average. Looking at 17, 18, 19, possibly 20 Celsius in the best of the sunshine. Somewhere across North Wales into northwest England could reach that top spot. On Monday, it's all changed. Weather systems moving southwards, introducing northerly winds and much colder air across Scotland. This slowly pushes southwards through Monday and into Tuesday, introducing that colder air. But southern parts holding on to that warm air for one day more, so 16, 17 Celsius possible, then turning colder for all from Tuesday.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We want to spruce up your spring with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash that you can spend however you like. But that's not all, as you'll also receive not one, but two brand new designer watches and a fabulous Mulberry handbag. For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour for a bunch of stories, including school children have been advised by teachers not to walk home alone after the government moved asylum seekers into a hotel near their school. Police have leapt into action and are ready to arrest any concerned parents who post about it on Facebook. And good news for anyone with a sexy cousin. Keir Starmer won't ban cousin marriage. I can count 6 reasons cousin marriage is a bad idea on the fingers of the hand of somebody from Bradford. And it's International Women's Day, and people are demanding women's rights, despite not being able to say what a woman is. I've pledged to stay out of women's spaces today, and I've let my wife cook me dinner. I'm Leo Kearse, and tonight I'm joined for this International Women's Day special by Lewis Schaefer and Nick Dixon to take you through Sunday's top stories. There they are, ready to go. This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Good evening, I'm Lewis Mackenzie in the GB newsroom. The Reform MP Rupert Lowe has been suspended from the party amid allegations he made physical threats against the party chairman, Zia Youssef. Mr Youssef confirmed the party had also received complaints from 2 female employees about serious bullying in Mr Lowe's parliamentary and constituency offices. In a statement, Mr Lowe said he was disappointed but not surprised to learn of what he says are false allegations. He also said that the allegations of bullying from his office are not about him. Pro-Palestine activists have vandalised President Trump's golf course in Scotland. Red paint was sprayed over the clubhouse, while the message "Gaza is not for sale" was painted on the lawn of the US president's Turnberry course. This action is reportedly in response to his administration's plans to, quote, take over Gaza and ethnically cleanse the region. A body has been recovered by police from the River Thames, which is being linked to a manhunt for the suspect in the Valentine's Day pub shooting in Kent. 43-year-old Lisa Smith was killed last month after she was shot outside the 3 Horseshoe pub in Knockholt. The suspect was known to Lisa, and later that evening, officers found his car abandoned on the Queen Elizabeth II bridge in the area. A police investigation is ongoing. 3 suspects are still at large after 12 people were injured in a shooting at a pub in Toronto. Authorities say 6 people suffered bullet wounds and others hurt by flying glass or shrapnel. All other injuries are not life-threatening. The motive for the attack is still unclear. Today is International Women's Day. The annual celebration aims to champion women's achievements across all aspects of life. To mark the event, the House of Commons have posted this photo of female MPs. Now, currently, there are 263 female MPs serving in the House, making up 40% of the total number of MPs today, the highest number in the history of the UK. And finally, 4 European brown bears at Whipsnade Zoo have woken up from hibernation. The bears Manna, Minnie, Naya and, of course, Cinderella have finally gotten out of bed after 3 months of deep slumber, signalling the start of spring at the UK's largest zoo. Thank you very much. I've been Lewis Mackenzie, and those are your GB News headlines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Now let's kick off headliners with a look at some of the front pages. The Telegraph leads with Russian spies plot to control flow of migrants. The Mail on Sunday has welcome to UK gunman who says death to all Jews. Wow, they're letting anybody in. The Sunday Express has £6.6 billion cost of asylum seeker support revealed, some of which presumably went to that man. So let's have a closer look at those front pages, starting with the Sunday Telegraph, Lewis. What have they got?
Yes, thank you for asking this of me, Leo Kearse. I had a great week. I was in Manchester.
I don't care about your week.
I think
tell us about the news.
People out there probably do care.
No.
And they probably
Tell them later.
I'll tell him later. You can call me up. You can find me on my
Nick,
Lewis
can you
Schaefer.
tell us what's happening in
I want to hear Lewis do the first. Do it.
I'm doing the first. This is, I mean, there's a lot of news on the Sunday Telegraph, and it says Farage reform infighting will only hurt us at the ballot box.
Yeah.
And that is such a typical British thing, and that is an indicator. I shouldn't say bad things about Nigel Farage. He might be the only hope we have, Nick Dixon. But the fact is that people need to be fighting. They need to fight with each other. Instead, they're picking on this guy. I don't even know if he's guilty or not. The Rupert Lowe. And he's been accused of like bullying two people in the office, and he was threatened the other guy who was head of the.
Well, the accusations are much milder than the accusations against you. But
yeah.
I mean, I think this will hurt Farage's, will hurt Reform's chances at the ballot box.
Can we not kid about the accusations?
I was actually asking Nick.
I was asking me, Lewis Schaefer. I noticed his new thing is saying our full names, so I'm hitting back. Yeah, Farage, reform infighting will only hurt us. Well, of course it will, so maybe don't attack Rupert Lowe constantly and get the party to put out these bizarre statements. Yeah. Now, Farage could say Lowe started it by saying Farage is, is too messianic and we're like a protest party just following this one person. Rupert Lowe definitely had a little dig there. But was the response proportionate? If it was a response, some people would just say, oh, no, this was just coincidence that these allegations came out a couple of days later. And now Lee Anderson has said he can't be in the party, which he might mean temporarily, but it sounds to me like he means permanently.
And why should one person control a political party?
To be honest, I don't even mind if...
It worked well for Stalin.
Yeah, I don't even... I'm different on some people on this. I don't even mind if Farage controls it. If you... promote talent. You can, a good CEO promotes talent and lets them flourish. He still runs it. Yeah. But that's the problem. If you're not going to allow someone like Rupert Lowe through, who many of us felt was speaking for us, then it's a massive problem. So yeah, they will lose my vote if they lose Rupert Lowe.
And I don't think anybody would have noticed. It would have passed without comment. Rupert Lowe saying, Nigel Farage, is a bit, because it's sort of obvious truth that Nigel Farage is this figurehead, this totem for reform. So
he's not a figurehead. He owns the thing. He is the company.
I think it's been passed to sort of to the.
Well, Farage and Aziz Yusuf are still the main two owners, as far as I understand. So, and they changed the name of the company. I don't know. Some people have questioned that.
I have heard that it's questioned.
There's also this story about this reminiscent of Russia. Weaponizing migration about a decade ago. It went into Syria to send that wave of refugees up into Europe.
Yeah, it's Russian spies plot to control flow of migrants. We heard about this guy the other night, Marsalek, and he's been just all around the world. He really gets around, this guy. It's extraordinary. And the idea is that this is part of Putin's plan to sort of control the flow of migrants like a tap in a kind of hybrid warfare. So like he'll do things like tell the truth about Europe's migration policy, or apparently he'll do things like physically move people towards the EU's borders, support smugglers, increase instability and violence in Syria and parts of Africa. And these are the kind of things. But yeah, we don't need that much help. But yeah, Putin's using... It's 360 war, Leo. It's unrestricted warfare.
It's surely going to backfire because diversity is our greatest strength.
Yeah, so it's going to help. It's going to help the country.
It helps our GDP.
Right.
Massive GDP.
But the point is, it's not like we're at war with Russia. It's not like we're planning on sending troops to the Ukraine or been sending them hundreds of millions of pounds worth of weapons to them. It's not like we've expressed any hostility towards the Russians.
Are you saying you're pro-Putin, Lewis? You sound like a pro... Oh, that's ruined that. I was going to try and get him for being a pro-Putin apologist, but he's ruined it by just admitting it.
I shouldn't admit it. But I mean, I'm not pro-Putin. I don't like the Russians. I'm an American. I grew up hating the Russians. Yeah. But in this war between the Ukraine and the Russians, I think we've poked the Russian bear.
No, I don't think we have at all. And, I think we've been in this sort of simmering Cold War, since the Cold War ended. I don't think it ever did really end. And these aren't new tactics. I mean, Putin has been flying refugees from Africa, from the Sahel, from the Middle East to St. Petersburg and into Minsk and Belarus, and then busing them to the border with the European Union. And at the start, they just all went across the border, and then, now, Poland and the other countries on that side have incredibly robust border control. I mean, I think the Polish border guards now use live fire to defend the border. It's slightly different.
Old-fashioned solution.
Why are we blaming the Russians? I don't like the Russians. I'm going to go on record. They're doing it, but of course they're doing it because we moved the border of NATO all the way against Russia, which is going to make them angry.
Well, when's NATO ever attacked Russia?
NATO is planning on attacking Russia.
Oh, was it planning?
NATO is the military arm of teamwork.
Lewis's plan is to annoy you about Ukraine, your favourite topic, and thus not get to any of the papers that he hasn't read. It's genius. He's like Putin. It's this is 7D chess, and you're falling for it. This is hybrid warfare.
Look at how much we have to read for this
It's
story.
insane. It is insane.
Papers. They write longer articles. Anyway, moving on, we've got the Mail on Sunday with this gunman who says death to all Jews. Not even just some Jews, Nick. This is all Jews.
Yes, welcome to UK. Gunman who says death to all Jews. Obviously, he met Lewis and then it all escalated. Sorry, it's meant to be a comedy show. It's a fine line. It's a very serious story. This is Abu Wadi, as you just said, Leo, in your introduction before. And, yeah, extraordinary. He's been pictured with AK-47s. I mean, it's not subtle stuff. He's posing with an assault rifle. He made his intentions pretty clear. These are the kind of people we're bringing in. It's like a news story every day of it. How much worse can the people get?
How you can call that, it's like you're shocked that he hates Jews.
No, I'm not. I've worked with you for 3 years.
But you're not shocked, but you make it seem like you're shocked. The fact is, he's not the only one who hates Jews. They all hate Jews. Every single Palestinian, possibly, some of them maybe don't, but a lot do. Maybe more than 60% of them. It's written in their great books, we can kill the Jews in order for us to spread.
When you say great books, you're not saying these are great books that you recommend.
They're great books.
Right.
Like the Richard and Judy reading list.
I'm calling it their book. Their book, I think 44 times says we got to kill the Jews.
I mean, we know there are a lot of people with the same sentiments already here, and it's almost as if, perhaps diversity isn't always the greatest strength. We're sort of seeing that in Syria right now, where the Islamists are slaughtering Christians and Alawite and Druze because they're tribal factions. They're fighting amongst themselves. But I mean, this guy in particular. So, Keir Starmer is talking about remilitarising the UK and having an army that can possibly go into Europe, possibly go into Ukraine, and provide some sort of backstop for the Ukrainian troops. But how can we send troops overseas when we're defenceless, apparently, against letting a guy like this, who's posing here with an assault rifle, says he hates Jews and wants to kill them?
How does he feel about Putin? Because we could put him in the war.
Wouldn't that solve problems?
It solves a lot of problems.
All these young fighting age men coming across the channel. Well, how convenient that they're fighting age. That you've arrived just at the right time.
That's what I'm saying.
The things that's absolutely shocking is they printed a photograph with a guy smoking a cigarette, and I think that sets a bad example to our kids.
That's true. These are not the kind of people we should be bringing in. Smokers.
He's actually not bad looking, And I think a lot of women are going, "Ooh, he needs a place to stay."
Yeah, you don't know him like I do.
And this is
he's got good.
Rebel.
He looks like a lovely guy, and this is International Women's Week.
Yeah. He's a project.
Yes, He's a project. Women like strong men. I get nothing because they seem so weak and vulnerable. But go on.
Moving on to the Sunday Express, Lewis, with this cost of asylum seeker support, some of which might be being sent on Abu Wadi. Maybe he's getting a new gun holster.
Yeah, well, it's only $6.6 billion, and that goes to some pounds. That's like nothing by American wastefulness. But that's and this is in the Sunday Express, and that's how much it costs British people to pay for these people that are coming into this country. And I think that and the Express is £2.80.
Lewis has run out of his knowledge on that.
They're getting some really nice things out of that. They're getting tennis lessons and zoo trips. So these are asylum seekers.
They're getting sandwich initiatives. I didn't know what that was until just minutes ago. It's a sandwich initiative. They're getting friendship services. I need that. I'm a citizen. Where's my friendship service? I need some friends.
I try to be a friend.
I know, it's so hard.
It is
I need services.
And you jump down my throat.
I know.
I took a picture of the other day. And
I know. Who doesn't want horrible, unposed pictures on the internet? Exactly. I need friend. This is why I need the services, Lewis. They do. Go on.
Well, are you tempted to go down to folks on the beach and sit there, get some scrappy clothes on,
arrive on a dinghy,
the clothes you're wearing, just splash some water in your trousers and say, "Listen, I just arrived."
Well, there's one problem with that, Leo. They were given a tour of Arsenal Stadium, and I'm a United fan. This is the big problem. They were giving tours of Arsenal Stadium to integrate.
Right.
That's not something that a regular British person does.
No, that's like £100. I think that's very expensive to get a tour of the thing.
It's a very special treat.
I passed by it today and I thought to myself, that's a lovely
And they're doing well, Arsenal. That is, at the moment, that is quite a prize.
But, you know, Liverpool is ahead.
And it's shocking.
Let's look at some more front pages. We've got the Sunday Times with pro-Palestine activists target defence firms. The Observer has Britain's among hardest hit by COVID fallout 5 years on. And the Daily Star on Sunday has let's all have a cheeky peek at Uranus. They managed to slip Uranus in about 3 times a week. Yeah. Looking at the Sunday Times, is this unique?
Yeah, it's pro-Palestine activists target defence firms. This is a shocker. So this Palestine Action, that's what they're called, they have claimed responsibility for 356 direct actions, so-called, since 2020. And what they do is they sabotage defence supplies of weapons to the British military, and they hit massive companies like Lockheed Martin and so on. And I didn't even know this was going on. Shocking.
It's going to be better when it's going to be better when they let the people into the military.
Well,
the military.
I mean, this is shocking. Just at the time when we need our defence suppliers to be defending us against the threat from Russia, threat from overseas, we need to be beefing up our military. We've got these homegrown, I mean, I don't know if they're homegrown or if they're people who've come into the country, pro-Palestine activists who are damaging Britain's ability to defend itself. That's shocking.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've got the Observer with Britain's...
You missed out. BBC need to hire more Northerners, which they do, by the way. The hardest thing, imagine being a Northerner from a state school and you end up in media. You have to be the absolute elite. It's so hard to get in. Sorry, go on.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, from my point of view, you're all Southerners. But
true.
Yeah, no,
I'm close, though. I'm from the border.
The BBC, they have all these diversity initiatives. They never have diversity initiatives to get more guys like us into the BBC.
That's what we need. Straight, white, right-wing blokes who are difficult to work with.
Am I difficult to work with?
No.
Oh, my God.
No.
Are you ever?
Because the people out there, they say, oh, you're so good when I meet you in person. But they say,
because they don't work with you for 3 years.
30 seconds.
It's absolute hell.
You're always bullying me because you're saying, you know...
I know. And it's so gaslighting because they haven't worked with you. Yeah. They'll see which way the bullying goes.
People out there are right.
It's a psychological terror attack.
And Lewis, let's look at this story about Britain's being hardest hit by the COVID fallout.
You know what? Britain's... this is in the Observer, which costs £4 on a Sunday.
That's a lot.
That is a lot of money for leftist propaganda rag. You know.
It's a great paper.
It is. I used to read it because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in it, and you could find out what's going on in the world by just reversing the thing. It's in the Observer. But it says that, because of what happened with the COVID, people are not getting any better. They're still sick.
Yeah.
And maybe they're sick because our country. I call this our country.
Yeah, it's not yours.
It's not my country. Could it be my kids' country?
Yeah, absolutely.
My kids' country.
And yours as well.
Well, I'm trying to look after it as much as I can, even though I don't like it. But
and you don't contribute.
Tell us your crackpot theory before you...
crackpot theory is because people aren't getting better because our world, their world, the English world of the Angles, the Saxons, the Jews,
the Picts and the Jutes,
Celts, the Picts, the Jutes, the Scots, the Northern Irish, even the Nigerians who were born in this country, that they feel, what future do we have when we're letting in Abu Wadi over here?
That's a great point. Yeah, it wasn't about a story, but it was brilliant. UK spent more money than most other countries and still end up with larger drops in life expectancy, more people too sick to work, huge levels of homelessness and soaring mental health problems among young people. Isn't that incredible? I was listening to that interview with Rishi Sunak that he did with Nick Robinson, and he didn't want to do lockdowns, and he didn't want to spend all that money, but he did it anyway. Boris Johnson went against his instincts, so he needed some people who had the courage of their convictions not to do it. We had a disastrous lockdown, and what's it brought us? Nothing.
He's totally right. Who is going to save this country? We need somebody who's going to save this country, not someone who's going to say, I'm worried about infighting.
Right.
We need someone who's going to say, I don't care about infighting. We got to get the best person in there. What is that?
I don't care about infighting.
Yeah.
OK, well, coming up, we've got a bunch more stories. We've got a Wuhan cover-up. The COVID lab leak was true. We've got police say that schoolgirls aren't being followed home. Here we are. It's on the auto-cue now. Coming up in the next section, a COVID conspiracy comes true. Labour defends cousin marriages, and the UK's nuclear deterrent might just go up in smoke thanks to Trump. And thanks for putting that in at the last moment. Welcome. See you in a moment.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News.
Britain's news channel.
An advert for clothing retailer Next has been banned after it's judged to feature an unhealthily thin model.
Well, the advert, which was a product listing for denim leggings on the retailer's website, was deemed irresponsible by the Advertising Standards Authority after a single viewer complained.
A single viewer, OK. In its defence, Next said the ad was created with a strong sense of responsibility to both consumers and society, and while admitting the model was slim, they added that she had a healthy and toned physique that aligned with the nature of its product, its leggings.
Well, is it irresponsible to feature slim models in adverts? Let's debate this now. We're joined by the showbiz broadcaster and body positivity advocate Danielle Broadbent and the journalist and broadcaster Emma Trimble. Danielle, let's start from you. Did the Advertising Standards Authority get this one right?
Absolutely. I mean, loads and loads of brands sell leggings and they don't need to feature a super slim model to sell their clothing and their leggings. Now, from my point of view, the ASA are not saying that this woman is unhealthy. They're saying the way she's being styled and the way she's posing looks unhealthy. And with such a trend going on at the moment with no, curvy plus-size models in the fashion weeks, the trends of weight loss pens and things that are going around, are we encouraging, when we see adverts like this, vulnerable young teenage girls who are quite vulnerable anyway with body image? Are we encouraging eating disorders?
I think the idea that society is somehow, holding up anorexia as a virtue is just an anachronism. This woman is healthy. She's being body shamed for being healthy. I think people really just need to, and I know this sounds harsh, but I think they just need to get over themselves. It's this kind of scrutiny that is actually leading to people being so fixated on the way that people look.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners, and let's go to gbnews.com/yoursay for a couple of your comments. Elizabeth Paul says, we have imported an army who probably hate us. Well, looking at Abu Wahid, that's certainly true for some of them. And Martin Watson says, the tie Lewis is wearing is ideal for spiders to play Twister.
Oh, that's
fashion advice. Yeah, it would be great.
It's a beautiful tie. I paid like £2 for it.
That's a lot for you.
Yeah.
Kicking things off with The Sun on Sunday, and the conspiracy theorists were right. The deadly coronavirus that broke out next to a lab that studies deadly coronaviruses did come from the lab, Lewis. I'm shocked.
It did, but we knew that. We knew that in 2020 when Jon Stewart was on that TV program.
But we weren't allowed to say it.
We weren't allowed to say it, but I said it. I said it from the beginning, and I lost hundreds and hundreds of Facebook followers. People didn't like me. Anyway, they don't like me now, but
for different reasons.
For different reasons. Wuhan cover-up was this guy. His name was Robert Redfield. And he was he was in the documentary for The Sun called The COVID Files inside the Wuhan lab leak scandal, and he was like from the Center for Disease Control, and he's saying that they lied. The whole COVID thing is a lie, and I'm going to go even so far as to say.
Well, he says there's no way the virus wasn't made in a lab.
Yeah.
You stopped Lewis.
And I'm
going to do it
one
again.
step further than that. There's no such thing as virus.
Okay. Now,
okay. And no, you can say, well, that's just Louis Schaefer. He's crazy. And not only that, there's no
such thing. How about this? There's no such thing as Louis Schaefer.
Yeah. Well, someone could if that's
it's just a name, isn't it? You're the being. I see the soul and spirit that is named Louis Schaefer.
If there's no such thing as viruses, why does it hurt when you pee? Nick, what do you make of this?
Well, for balance, I think there is such thing as viruses.
And it does hurt, and I even agree it hurts.
and for balance, it does hurt when Lewis pees. So, yes, well, It's absurd, isn't it? I came up with this term, temporal gaslighting. It hasn't caught on yet, but it is a brilliant term, which is that things aren't allowed to be true until suddenly they are. We all know they're true, like the lab leak theory, but they leak it out and like, oh, now you're allowed to say it. Now you won't get cancelled off YouTube or lose your friends and family. It's so absurd. And so it makes you ask, what things now fall into that category? Southport perhaps was one of them. You know what I mean? So different things at different times. Now we're allowed to say the lab leak was real, but we're not allowed to say a host of other things.
And we're sort of seeing it with immigration as well, mass immigration.
Yes.
Keir Starmer came out and said, "Oh, this is done by design. It's a deliberate policy by the previous administration." It's like, well, that's what we were saying, and we were called bigots and racist. And this also shows that you can't really trust a scientific consensus because sometimes it's manufactured. There's a scientific consensus that it didn't come from a lab, and that turned out to be false. Turned out to be propaganda. So the only scientists you can really trust are bigots and cranks.
Yes.
Well, that's me.
Lewis.
This is stuff Lewis was. But, Rishi admitted in that BBC interview, he said, we shouldn't have said the science. We should have said, we're consulting scientific experts. Very, very different. They pretended there was just, monolithic thing called the science, but there never was.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to the Mail on Sunday now, and it looks like the police are up to their old tricks of ignoring migrant sex crimes. Well, at least we know who the police protect, and it's not schoolgirls, Nick.
Yeah, MP says police have dismissed claims that men from a migrant hotel are stalking schoolgirls in affluent home county's town, as teachers warn children not to walk home alone. This is early, near Reading, and there's these schoolgirls in a Maiden Place, and all the locals are saying that the girls have been followed, they've been stalked, they're not going to let them out to play anymore. And it's just
the migrants or the
yes, both. It's disgusting. We know this is going on, and just like we were talking about, this is one of the things that we're currently not really allowed to say because no one knows what to do about it. So we have this elite that has allowed people into the country, huge amounts, both legal and illegal. Is it naivety about all cultures being equal? Is it about GDP and replacing jobs? Is it even more sinister things about replacing the population? Some people think, but one thing that's clear is they put people in danger, and the government don't want anyone talking about it because they can't fix it. Yeah, they're here now, and they've put us in danger. It's one of the most disgusting historical scandals. They can. Well, they could if they really wanted to.
If they really wanted to, they can. They can stop the ships from coming across. Yep. They could if they get here, you put them on a boat and you send them back immediately. You hang out outside. Like there's the guy on top of in the Elizabeth Tower, right, of Westminster. You could do something about that. You don't have to say, please come down, please come down. No, you just say no.
So, yeah, we could do something about this, and it's sort of been exacerbated by the fact that illegal migrants and asylum seekers used to be housed in cities and also on sort of former military sites and, large containment units like that. Whereas now, under Labour's Operation Scatter, they're being pushed out to hotels around the country. So you're going to see, nice, cute little English villages like this suddenly have 300 men from Afghanistan or wherever, pop up in a hotel in a Travelodge next to them with, just literally sort of airdropped from there. And we know, like you say, not all cultures are the same. In Afghanistan, people might have noticed they've got quite a medieval, misogynistic culture. And we've got enough of that
and these
here already.
People, people are good. But too many people who from a group of people who hate you and want us dead are not good.
Absolutely. Well, the Mail on Sunday again here with Labour defending cousin marriage. We finally found something Labour won't put regulations on, and it's inbreeding.
Yes, and Labour, they're like horrible people. I shouldn't say it. The Tories are horrible people too. But what it is English.
Balance.
I think for balance, we've got to say they're wonderful people and Cantor.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Lib Dems are awful as well. Just for balance.
No, they're not awful, because what do they stand for? We don't know what they stand for. Anyway, so what this is the English city where staggeringly high percentage of women are married to their cousins. We know this story. You can't even say what the story is.
Tell us what it is. At least try and say what it is.
The story is they've done studies over the past few years. They find that like 50.
Yeah, but can you tell us what this story is?
This story is
just read it off the page.
I read it. Is that 50% of the nearly half of the population of the females in this Pakistani community were in a consanguine. How do you pronounce that?
Consanguineous.
Which means they're sharing the blood with the blood, which means that they're married to their cousins, which means that they share grandparents. So the kids get less presents, I guess, because
yeah, well, that's one of the reasons they want to do it is to keep wealth in the family, and I guess it would make Christmas shopping cheaper.
Yeah,
Nick, if your cousin is also your husband.
Good point. Yes, maybe that's what Starmer's thinking when he says he'd block this. He's saying Labour would block this, but of course they would, because they're postmodernists, they're postmodern leftists, they're cultural relativists. They don't say, oh, this is medically wrong, this is culturally against our country. They say, oh, well, who are you to say that cousin marriage is bad? They're against the Enlightenment, they're against science, and this is what these are the people we have leading us.
And right now there's a war going on with people who hate us, moved into the country, and someday when they hit about 20% of the population or 30, it's...
Well, we've got to say, like, obviously, a lot of people in this community won't be full of hate or anything like that. They'll just be, they've just come here to live. But I mean, marrying your cousin, no matter what what your background is, isn't a great idea for the kids, because you're more likely to have all these congenital issues.
Because of the recessive genes are on two sides of the family automatically, because they're the same recessive gene.
Yeah.
And then you got a kid with, like, as you say, 6 fingers.
Yeah, well, I had recessive genes in my hairline, and I got that fixed.
Yeah.
Still to come, the Church of England bans Eurocentric prayers, Trump cuts off woke universities, and the BBC find a new way to waste your licence fee money. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Angela, what were the benefits you saw working on Strictly? What actually was this revelation to you that you should do more?
Well, I tell you what it was, mainly. It was because I think I've been dancing since I was 5, one way and another.
Yes.
You? Yeah. And I'm now 80, so 75 years I've been dancing. So I've always known, as have dance teachers all over the country, that dance is actually the best form of exercise you can possibly do, because it's not just good for your body, but it's also great for your mind, for your mental health, for your mind, for your happiness, for your outlook on life. And of course, you have to use your brain to remember what you're doing. So it's great for all sorts of things. And so I've known that, and dance teachers have known that, but it's always been sort of under the radar when people have thought about, how do I get fit? They sort of think automatically about going to a gym or doing a park run,
treadmill,
doing all of that. So when I was doing Strictly, I got wonderful reaction from the public. I mean, I was just overwhelmed with a lot of people saying that I'd inspired them to think about dance. And I thought, how can I put these two things together then? And I was listening to Chris Whitty on radio, he's the Chief Medical Officer for England, saying that because the National Health Service is having such financial difficulties, it would help if we all took more responsibility for our own health by, he said, play football, go to a gym. Why not dance, he said. And I thought, that's what I can do. So because I've been involved with dance for a long time, I got in touch with every one of the dance organisations in the country, the ones who look after ballroom dancing, Latin, ballet, street dance, everything, all of them, and all the ballet companies, all the dance companies, and said, if we can get a national day of dance to get that message across, get dance teachers to open their doors and say, come and see what dance can do for you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, and let's go to gbnews.com/YourSay for a couple of your comments. John A. Vote Reform, I think he's going to vote for reform, says Labour support cousin marriage because they want their uncles, nephews, cousins, fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, nephew to vote Labour. Possibly. I mean, that's an interesting perspective. Charlie Hanover says, Headliners on fire tonight. Well done, lads.
On fire.
Better not read the rest of that out. We've got the Sunday Telegraph now with the Church of England more afraid of offending Guardian readers than offending God, Nick.
I know, not really new, but this is a pathetic example. Avoid Eurocentric prayers to boost inclusion, says anti-racist guide. This is in Norwich, and it's so shocking. The guidance tells Church of England priests to avoid asking for God's help with problems relating only to Europe and Europeans. I mean, how can this be real? We know by now what to expect. I mean, they even say ensure that intercessions are aligned with the concerns of the congregation and are not entirely Eurocentric. And later, they want to call upon God to be bold in finding the riches of inclusion and the treasures of diversity among us. It adds that congregants come before you a holy family, a rainbow people. So we've known for a while the church is completely captured by woke ideology. This is a particularly absurd example. The question is, can it even be salvaged? Should it just be destroyed, or can you take it over with normal people? Because it's wearing the skin suit of the church, and we see this all the time, don't we? The total state, the prevailing ideology has captured all institutions. So you get the Church of England clearly just parroting woke ideology, and the other thing is they haven't noticed. It's over. Woke is over. Someone tell the church tend to be a bit behind. Someone send a pigeon to tell them that it's over.
Well, this is. I mean, there really should be smoke coming out of a chimney to say, woke is gone. But
I think Leo's. I think Nick is wrong, because I think the church has to speak for its marginalized members, the many Jews and Muslims who are going into the Church of England.
The Church of England.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing.
This is the Church of England.
Why isn't the Church of England being like the Church of England of old? You know what I mean? It's a nonsense. Everybody that I know that's starting going to the church is going to some ultra orthodox Ukrainian style
everything's in Latin
Christian church. And it's serious, and they're quite the sermons are quite muscular and forceful. And it sounds great, to be honest. It's the sort of guys you can imagine getting on a horse with a suit of armour and a big sword and going and fixing the world. I mean, this seems ridiculous.
Right.
Also,
maybe the Church of England will bring back belief in God and be like, that might be a nice.
They've got belief.
It's an idea.
Belief in DEI handbooks,
Jesus,
which isn't the same thing. Well, we've got the Mail on Sunday now with some top universities learning an expensive lesson, Lewis.
Oh, this is good news. Good news. Trump pulls all federal funding and grants from woke Ivy League school blasted over anti-Semitism. This is Columbia University, which is in New York City, is one of the Ivy League things, very prestigious. And in America, because the president, they don't, they give out money, but they don't have control. It's not like in this country where all the money goes from the central government. But President Trump said, you guys have been horrible to the Jews there by letting the Palestinians protest. We're not giving you £400 million. And it's going to change. And Columbia, I didn't go to Columbia University.
That surprises me. But you did live near it in a skip.
I supported the football team, the American football team.
I mean, do you think this impinges on free speech? Do you think there's an issue around that?
Nah. No, I mean, look, like Lewis says, it is good. I mean, because we saw after October 7th how mental these places were, and so people said, right, we're not going to fund that, which I think is completely reasonable if it's anti-American. And, of course, the Trump administration is very pro-Israel. The only thing I'd say, my only sorrow is, and it's a little bit controversial, is that these people were attacking Gentiles for years and years and years. The whole ideology was just flagrantly anti-white hatred baked into the curriculum, baked into the ideology, and everyone said that's fine. But as soon as it was Jewish people, because they're more organised and they say no, we won't stand for that.
No,
but if we do that,
true.
We're not allowed to stand together because we're all Hitler. Then.
That is a bit true.
If you do that, you're a white supremacist. You genuinely go to jail. And we see the sort of anti-white rhetoric of critical race theory and all this DEI ideology. The Jews are seen by these people as the ultimate white people. So when they say they want to abolish whiteness, professors even said, students even said, you know, when the Hamas attacks happened, they said, what did you think decolonisation meant? You know, this is the sort of decolonisation that the church crows about, that the church says we should do. This is the decolonisation put into practice when the Hamas militants go in and slaughter people who they see as European settlers and colonisers.
But I think Donald Trump is also going to do it with, like, white place, whatever white is. You feel white. You don't feel white. You might feel Scottish. You might feel Cumbrian or wherever you're from. But Jews feel Jewish. And they know what it means when they said, we hate Jews. We know exactly what that means. When they say, we hate white people, you go, well, I'm not really that white because I'm a working class guy from...
No, I do feel insulted by that, of course.
You feel insulted. Well, let's hope when Donald Trump takes over this country as well, that he fights, that people are fighting for everyone in this country.
Or maybe we'll get our own government that, you know, clamps down on anti-white racism and anti-Semitic racism.
I don't see that happening.
Well, moving on to the Observer now, and it's a bad day for the grievance economy, but a great day for taxpayers, Nick.
Oh, yeah, it's Islamophobia charity Tel Mama facing closure after funding pulled by government. So there was this Islamophobia reporting service, which I don't know what that means, has lost their funding. And, you know, why should we be funding this anyway, is what I would say. Look, this is my position on this all the time. If someone commits a crime against a Muslim, then it's a crime. Then report it as a crime and someone will hopefully tackle it. They may not because the country's broken. But Islamophobia is a whole different thing. I don't believe in the word. It's an anti-free speech term. You can obviously criticise religion. We know Christians are criticised constantly. So why not? So I don't believe in the whole Islamophobia thing. Therefore, I don't think we need a charity for it, and especially not one that I'm paying for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you know, to have it just for one group and not for another group seems to be discriminatory, frankly. And there was no oversight to this charity, as far as I can tell. So you know, people could phone up just saying that they felt a certain way, they felt discriminated against, and it would be recorded.
As a report.
It would be recorded as an incident, and then they could go, and then it would be reported in the Observer as, oh my God, look, 11,000 people had an incident. But what does an incident mean?
Right, and the word phobia means it's not true. It's like you're being a bit crazy for saying, you know, someone's attacking my group of people. And what happens if it's real? What happens if they say, you know, we think those people are going to kill us because this guy was photographed with a gun smoking a cigarette saying he hated Jews?
Yeah.
Is that a phobia?
Yeah, I mean, that's
a reality. That's Islam reality.
Yeah, no, nobody has to go at arachnophobes for being afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a spider hold an AK-47 while smoking a cigarette.
You want to know something?
To kill all Jews?
No, that's a reality. Spiders can kill you. So it's not a phobia.
In Australia.
In Australia, yeah, maybe not here. But
OK, well, let's squeeze this one in. We've got the Mail on Sunday, and the BBC is hiring a diversity officer on £125,000 a year. They'll have an easy job. Yeah. The only diversity that's missing at the BBC is an opinion that isn't left-wing, Lewis.
Well, the reason why people are upset about this is BBC is accused of fleecing licence fee payers, which is all of us, really, unless you decide you're not
Not me.
Well, it's not me either, but we're not
or me, but hey.
Yeah, we're not recommending you. We're recommending you pay your thing, and that's the problem with this country is that £169 or so is going to support the BBC, which is the state, the big brother propaganda communications.
People might have heard of the BBC, but tell us what this actual story is about.
This actual story is that they've hired a guy at $125,000, which is nothing. Pounds a year for a head of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. They didn't want to call it DEI. This is not DEI because we got a B instead of an I, whatever it is. And then people are going, we don't want to pay for it. But $125,000 is
that's a lot of money.
In this country, which is dirt poor.
It's a lot of money.
And just by having this role, you're indicating that you believe in an ideology that I completely disagree with and despise, and I'm paying for it, in theory, if I paid it. And I'm paying for Gary Lineker and Mariana Spring. But by the way,
and Gaza, Phil.
And a Tory MP, Joe Robertson, hits back here, right? But still gets it wrong, and says diversity and inclusion should already be embedded through the BBC and supported by the HR department. Such a Tory stance. Like, no, guys, this is outrageous. we should have it, but just not in this way. Like, what are you talking about? We don't want any diversity nonsense, Tories. This is why you lost.
Yeah, when are we going to be able to drag the Tories back from talking and thinking that this is a fight to be won in the HR department?
You want to know something?
With their own language.
Are the Lib Dems back? No, and the Tories are the new Lib Dems. Well, they are now.
I think maybe the point he was trying to make is that this suggests if the BBC needs to give somebody £125,000 a year to deal with diversity and inclusion at the BBC is horrificidly racist, because otherwise it wouldn't need this role. So why are we publicly funding the BBC? It should be shut down if it's so racist.
It should be shut down.
and for balance, I also think it should be shut down.
No, unless they offer me a job.
For balance,
yes.
We're all just bitter that we haven't been booked.
They owe me £100 as well.
Still to come, HS2 blows £20,000 on Lego, Britain blocks Elon Musk's tech, and there are concerns over testosterone being given to men in case it stops them voting Lib Dem. This is on Headliners. This is Headliners, only on GB News. I almost got it right.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're curious about what the weather's doing further afield, well, across the Mediterranean, there's a lot of unsettled weather at the moment, especially Iberia into the south of France. But for Greece, mostly fine, sunny spells, still a bit of a breeze for the Greek islands. Italy, towards the south, yes, plenty of settled weather, but towards the north and northwest, as well as the south of France, unsettled, but not as unsettled as Portugal, Spain, Gibraltar, Madeira, where heavy showers and strong winds will be continuing through the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Generally dry across much of the UK over the next 24 hours. Plenty of sunshine to come through Sunday. Winds generally light and temperatures well above average for the time of year. Low pressure sat to the southwest, drawing in warm air from the near continent. But we're between weather systems, so most places generally staying dry over the next 24 hours. There are a few showers, though, across western parts through the evening time and also the far north of Scotland. But as we head overnight, most places will be dry with lengthy clear spells. And as winds fall light, particularly across parts of Scotland, northern England, temperatures here will drop away close to freezing. Some mist and fog patches developing as well, but for most, temperatures above freezing to start Sunday morning. So we take a look at the details for Sunday morning. A weather front across the far north of Scotland, giving further outbreaks of patchy rain here. Temperatures around 6-7 degrees, but plenty of sunshine elsewhere. Some mist and fog patches are possible, but they should burn back to the coast quite quickly. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England as well. Just a few fog patches, and dry across the rest of England and Wales. Just perhaps a little bit of rain getting close to the far southwest of England, but again, most likely staying dry here too. A little bit breezy here, but for most through Sunday, winds will be light. There'll be plenty of sunshine. Just further outbreaks of patchy rain affecting the far north of Scotland, and very little change through the rest of the afternoon into the evening time, and temperatures well above average. Looking at 17, 18, 19, possibly 20 Celsius in the best of the sunshine. Somewhere across North Wales into northwest England could reach that top spot. On Monday, it's all changed. A weather system's moving southwards, introducing northerly winds and much colder air across Scotland. This slowly pushes southwards through Monday and into Tuesday, introducing that colder air. But southern parts holding on to that warm air for one day more, so 16, 17 Celsius possible, then turning colder for all from Tuesday.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got The Observer now, and it's International Women's Day. Who better to cover this story than our feminism correspondent, Louis Schaefer?
Yes. Well, I love international women from all over the world. Well, I came here for a woman. I came here, and the women are good. They're good. They're not good. They're horrible. But even when they're horrible,
add it to the montage.
But even when they're horrible, you can enjoy them, and they can be enjoyable. So you don't hate. Anyway, so this is global celebrations and protests mark International Women's Day, and we like things about women in this country. We can see their faces. We can see their hair.
Some of them.
We let them work and maybe do things for us.
They can be near an open window.
Yeah, they could be near an open. Yeah, that's been stopped in like Somalia or Afghanistan. But the truth is there, that is done. I mean, you can't have a Muslim-dominated world and feminism.
Okay, I mean, I don't think they really mention that in this story, but Nick, what do you make of International Women's Day?
Well, I'm very concerned about the women because migration has destroyed women's safety in many cities in Britain and Europe, and I'm worried about that. And the irony is that often women are safer in a more masculine culture because you could argue that it's a kind of excessive compassion, this will get me in trouble, but in our policies and in our leaders, and, why is Justin Trudeau crying? I'm not saying it's necessarily that women cry, but our culture could be a lot tougher and it'd be safer for women. Obviously, there's a line where it goes too far, and you're the Taliban and you're saying you can't drink from a well or draw water from a well because it's too erotic. That's when you go, that's gone too far, the well thing.
There's some displaced empathy.
I'm trying to be liberal here, Louis.
There's some displaced empathy in our culture where, because people aren't having kids anymore, so the empathy, the affection they'd have for their kids, they instead say, oh, we must take in the world's dispossessed. And it's like, no, you should just have kids.
Suicidal empathy, Gadsad.
Yeah, well, talking of masculinity, the Sunday Times now with the woke left concerned about testosterone being used on adult men. They're only happy when it's used on confused 12-year-old girls, Nick.
Yeah, there have been awful anti-testosterone articles before from The Guardian and stuff, but this is a Sunday Times. Joe Rogan and the manosphere glorify testosterone. What are the dangers? Well, firstly, Joe Rogan isn't part of the manosphere, even though they say that here. The manosphere is people like Rollo Tomasi, Jack Donovan, John Sonnes. There's loads of people, but they don't know what the manosphere is. That's fine. It's an online thing that grew up on YouTube, the Red Pill movement. Rogan's not a part of it, but fine. It's about testosterone replacement therapy, which can be very useful. It can be necessary if men have a low testosterone. You need a medical amount to top it up and replace it. Obviously, it's a danger if young people start taking it. They don't need it. Then they come off it. Then their body's not producing it anymore. So then they have a slump, and it's a big problem. That's what it's talking about in the article. But testosterone is very necessary, but it can go wrong if you take it and you don't need it.
And Lewis, you've got a lot of testosterone, and the studies have shown that when men have more testosterone, either produce it more themselves or have it artificially, they become more masculine, more assertive, and also tend to vote more right-wing.
That is exactly true. And the reason they picked on Joe Rogan in this article is because that's what the left does now. They pick on one guy because they can't attack the actual policies. So they say, oh, and it's usually Andrew Tate that they mention in all of these things, or Elon Musk, whatever. It's one guy. But the way you raise your testosterone is by eating meat and eggs, preferably raw.
And being right-wing. I went a few years ago to just check mine, because I read about all this stuff. Mine was actually really high for my age, so you're right, Leo, it's the opinions.
Right, wow. So maybe testosterone is going to save the world.
Yeah.
Because apparently obesity, as we've got more obese, we're not producing enough testosterone. Well, anyway, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at tomorrow's front pages. The Sunday Telegraph leads with Russian spies plot to control flow of migrants. The Mail on Sunday has welcome to UK gunman who says death to all Jews. That's Abu Wadi, brother of Shawadi Wadi. Thought I'd do that joke again. The Sunday Express has £6.6 billion cost of asylum seeker support revealed. The Sunday Times has pro-Palestine activists target defence firms. The Observer has Britons amongst hardest hit by COVID fallout 5 years on. And the Daily Star on Sunday says, let's all have a cheeky peek at Uranus. And that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests Nick and Lewis. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Steve N. Allen and Kerry Marks. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast. And I hope to see you tomorrow night. Goodbye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Generally dry across much of the UK over the next 24 hours. Plenty of sunshine to come through Sunday. Winds generally light and temperatures well above average for the time of year. Low pressure sat to the southwest, drawing in warm air from the near continent. But we're between weather systems, so most places generally staying dry over the next 24 hours. There are a few showers, though, across western parts through the evening time and also the far north of Scotland. But as we head overnight, most places will be dry with lengthy clear spells. And as winds fall light, particularly across parts of Scotland, northern England, temperatures here will drop away close to freezing. Some mist and fog patches developing as well, but for most, temperatures above freezing to start Sunday morning. So we take a look at the details for Sunday morning. A weather front across the far north of Scotland giving further outbreaks of patchy rain here. Temperatures around 6-7 degrees, but plenty of sunshine elsewhere. Some mist and fog patches are possible, but they should burn back to the coast quite quickly. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England as well. Just a few fog patches, and dry across the rest of England and Wales. Just perhaps a little bit of rain getting close to the far southwest of England, but again, most likely staying dry here too. A little bit breezy here, but for most through Sunday, winds will be light. There'll be plenty of sunshine. Just further outbreaks of patchy rain affecting the far north of Scotland, and very little change through the rest of the afternoon into the evening time. And temperatures, well, above average. Looking at 17, 18, 19, possibly 20 Celsius in the best of the sunshine. Somewhere across North Wales into northwest England could reach that top spot. On Monday, it's all changed. Weather systems moving southwards, introducing northerly winds and much colder air across Scotland. This slowly pushes southwards through Monday and into Tuesday, introducing that colder air. But southern parts holding on to that warm air for one day more, so 16, 17 Celsius possible, then turning colder for all from Tuesday.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For a chance to win the cash, 2 watches and a designer bag, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. I'm Alex Armstrong, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
King Charles is defending the wrong faith.
Reform have put